Hi everyone, welcome back to VASIVA. So for today's episode, I brought two of my best friends on with me. Today we'll be talking about university life. I have Hillary and Tiana. So they'll introduce themselves a little bit, tell you their age and their program. So Hill, go ahead.
Hi, so my name's Hillary. I'm 22 years old and I'm in fourth year and I'm studying early childhood studies.
Okay, T.
And hello, my name is Tiana. I am 22 years old and I'm also in fourth year and I am studying media studies.
Woo! Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ivana, I'm 21, and I am studying media as well. First year though. Currently second year going on. So today, like I said, we'll be talking about university life. So we'll be covering lots of topics all the way from residence life, because all three of us lived on residence, making friends, commuting, and also just how life is different from high school compared to university. So what I want to start off with is our transition from high school to university. So I'll talk a little bit about my experience. So for me, high school was the best 4 years of my life. I loved that period. And then I went straight out of high school into university. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but my brother suggested I go into business. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, I don't know what I want to do. Business, it's a safe route. Went with it, applied, got in, lovely. Was so happy because our school was my number one choice. Got in, yippee-ki-yay, can't wait to start. And applied for residence, got in, got a single room. It was a little too small for me, but whatever. And first year into business was actually very hard for me. Transitioning was a challenge. I actually got anxiety right after I started university, and it's been going on ever since. Uh, Residence life was kind of lonely. I didn't have many friends first semester. I think I had like 2 or 3. I knew T a little bit first semester. I knew Hill a little bit first semester, but nothing was like too close, so you can call them like close friends. But overall, like the transition from high school to university was very challenging for me. I struggled a lot, like living alone, even though I was used to being alone at home and like being independent. Being in residence alone, like an hour away from my mom, was like a whole other series of independence that I wasn't ready for. So that was mine experience. So Hill, if you want to go ahead and share how yours was.
Okay, so I did a gap year. So I did my 4 years and then I did a gap year mostly because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. And I didn't feel comfortable going into university. And especially my parents were like, they wanted to force me basically to go into a university that I didn't want to go into, which was like 30 minutes from my house. And I was like, okay, like I might do that. But then as I was like thinking about it and thinking about it, I felt that I wasn't ready. So then I thought, okay, if I just do a gap year, I could just gain some extra credits, boost my average even more, and then like I'll have more of an idea of what I want to do. But my parents weren't exactly happy with me doing a gap year because, especially like with cultural reasons, like they never had a thing called a gap year, so they couldn't understand that. But then afterwards, I finished gap year, and then I applied to the university that we go to now, and it actually became my top choice, and I was really excited. And the whole process of going into like from gap year to first year university honestly was like a lot easier, mostly because like you said, like we went into residence, and at first it was a little bit scary, but at the same time I was ready to move out of the house and just be independent, as you both know, because of family issues. But honestly, like because I know like for you both, like when I was talking with you and then like to our other friends at the time, like all of you guys were like really homesick. But
Yeah.
the thing is, right? So, but the thing is for me, I was like ever since like from summer going into like first year, I was so ready to just get out of my house and be independent and live on my own. So I didn't feel homesick whatsoever. My experience like in first year honestly wasn't that challenging, mostly because like I wanted to be independent and like I was ready to leave and just make new friends and like meet new people. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. See, your turn to shine.
So for my situation, when I was in high school, I did know what I wanted to do. I knew media was exactly what I wanted to go into. The only thing was at the time when everyone was applying, I kind of only applied because everyone around me was applying, and at the time it seemed like the right thing to do. And as we were waiting for our for everything to come in to getting accepted, that's when I kind of realized like I'm not really ready to go right away. Like even though I knew what I wanted to do, I wasn't ready to do it yet, right? So I took a year off. I was still in school. I did some co-op things. I was working a lot at different jobs. I was just basically trying to get as much experiences as I could, just to have it to my name and also to like get the skills that I wouldn't have had the time to gain if I were to go to school right away. Probably one of the best years of my life. One of the best decisions I like made for myself because I feel like in that year I grew so much like in media and then as well as other areas of skills that I could apply to myself. And also I met a lot of people. It was a great time. It was just a really great time for me personally and like my set. So whenever someone asks me if they should take a year off afterwards, I always say like if you can, why not, right? So right after that, after my year off, I went to the school that we're currently all at. Wasn't my first choice personally, but I'm really happy that I went like to our school just because I wouldn't have met any of the friends that I had met if I hadn't gone. I wouldn't have gained like the experience and the skills that I had I like not gone. And I was super nervous and I was very scared because here I was going into a program that I wanted, like the program I wanted, and it was great, but it's just the school itself like wasn't my first choice. So because of that, like I was really scared. I'm like, I'm going somewhere where I don't necessarily like wholeheartedly want to go. So I was just really afraid that I wouldn't connect to the people that were there and I wouldn't get what I wanted out of it. So definitely the first couple months was a bit, rocky because you're moving into somewhere new, right? You're completely away from your family for the first time. You feel like you have no control, especially me. I feel like I had no control, right? I'm at somewhere that I didn't really want to be first choice. So it was a lot of emotions going through my head that I was trying to deal with in the first couple months, but I definitely gave it time. And then after that, like I slowly started making friends, right? Like obviously we became friends after like the first few months, and it was like, thank God you guys are my support system like during that time. But even so, like I realized like, the program's not that bad. Um, it's eventually like it's kind of like a snowball, right? Like it starts off small, and as it starts rolling, it starts getting bigger and bigger, and the things around you start adding up and start making more sense. So definitely in the beginning, it was really weird for me. Wasn't exactly what I thought my like path would be like into like media, so say, right? But um, other than that, like it turned out really good near the end. Basically, the one thing that I learned from like applying to schools and transitioning from high school to university or college, it's never gonna go exactly how you think it's gonna go, and that's a huge, huge thing that I had learned. And now looking back on it, like who I am now, I would have done it, I would have acted much differently, but obviously it was the first time I'd gone through that. But biggest takeaway from it is that it definitely doesn't go the way you think it does. You kind of have to roll with it, and if you like it, then you're good, and if it's not for you, then you kind of have to make a change, right?
Exactly. Okay, well, thank you for sharing. And imagine that if you guys didn't take your gap year, we wouldn't have been friends. We would have never met.
Well, literally, because you're a year younger than Hillary and I, so say we had gone right away,
Yeah,
we would have never met.
I know.
And a year older than her. That like we would have been in second year, she would have been in first year, and honestly, we probably wouldn't have met.
I honestly don't think
Our
so.
friends at the same time, right? Like that's weird.
Okay, so we mentioned a little bit about choosing university programs. T was talking about how she was she wasn't too happy about not being her first choice. I want to dive in a little bit into that, not too much into detail, but for me, our university was my first choice. And like I said, I chose business because I wasn't really too sure. And then I ended up hating it, like despised it, didn't like any of my liked maybe two of my classes. I ended up getting like 40s and 50s and like 60s, only like 280s or something like that. it was a bad time. So I ended up just, dropping out of that. And then I was put on probation because I did really bad. So I had a 59.9 average. You need a 60 to stay in the school. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a year off, venture out, work. And my family was so unsupportive of that. They were like, oh my God, she's not going to go back to school. She's going to just, work all the time. Like, she loves money. Like, she's just going to want to, like, work and not do anything. And I was like, oh God, no, that's not true at all. Like, I don't want to be so-called, not a bum, but, like, I don't want to just, like, constantly be working. Like, I want an education. So I just took that year off. I worked. Didn't really do much. I wish I had, like, more. I wish I did, like, a couple like internships or something, like even like working at like a media somewhat store or something like that, so I can get that experience. I really wish I did that, but I just like worked, earned my money. I took a couple online courses to boost up my average, got off probation, and went back for media first year, aced it with flying colors, very proud. So, but yeah, I mean, you don't have to know what you want to do right away, so there's that. So, Hill, what about you? What was your experience like picking the uni and the program?
Okay, so in our high school gymnasium, there was a university fair, and I remember I already had the top choice that I had. And I remember seeing the booth for our school that we're currently attending. And as I was like listening to them, because like this type of the university that we go to, it's very small. Like the programs that they have, it's very small. But the thing is, because it's small, they're very, what's the word? Like they're focusing on those programs. Like you can do a lot of like practical stuff and like you can do internships and stuff like that. And I remember, oh, that's exactly what I want. Like I want to do co-op, like I want to do and gain experience. And when I was like looking at it, I was like, oh, okay, like the program that I'm currently in is like early childhood studies, and that's what I wanted. So I applied to that, but that was like my second choice. And the funny thing was my parents actually were like, you need to go to this school, like the one that we're currently attending. And I was like, what the heck? Like you're doing a whole 180. I realized halfway through, so like during the summer going into third year, I realized that the program that I'm in isn't necessarily what I want to do anymore. So now I'm like starting to like look into other programs and like other type of jobs and like careers that I could do later on. So basically the moral of the story is like sometimes you don't know. You thought you knew in the beginning and it's like, oh, this is the program that I want to go into. This is the career that I want. But then later on you'll realize that, oh, this isn't what I want to do.
So my situation, I applied to 3 schools. One I got accepted to, like for the program I wanted, which is the one I'm in right now. Another school accepted me to an alternate program, and then the one school that I wanted the most had waitlisted me. So at the time, I was like kind of upset because obviously the school that I wanted, I didn't even know if I was in or not. And because I already applied in grade 12, I applied the year after too, right? So it had happened twice. So for me, I was like, am I like cut out to go into media? Like it was just a lot of like emotions going through my head because even though I was getting accepted to like the other schools, like the one that I wanted the most, I've been waitlisted twice, right? So essentially I decided that it was better to go with the program that I'm in right now as opposed to the alternate program at a different school because I was like, at least I'll be getting what I want out of it because this was like the choice that I had made, right? So I picked the program that I'm in now. In the beginning, it was kind of hard to decide if the program was a fit for me because we literally were in school for 2 months, and then we had a strike that lasted 5 weeks amongst all the universities.
Yes.
So it's really weird because like the first year is kind of like sort of like the lightest year. It's your intro to like what's happening. Like you haven't really like put your toes in yet, right? So we were only there for about like 2 months, and then we were gone for 5 weeks with no school. They weren't teaching anything until the very end. And I had went home at that time, and I remember like being at home, and I was just like, I don't know like if this is the program for me at all because I don't know. I almost dropped out. And debated maybe I'll drop out, try to get into a different school. But my mom was the one who convinced me like, it's only the beginning of it. You're on a strike, like you really don't know what the program is. So I decided to stay. And then, she was right. After I stayed, obviously you start taking like more of your classes, and then second year is more like a little bit more in depth than first year, and then third year like really hits you where you're doing a lot more of what you wanted to do. I still wish I was kind of getting a bit more out of it. It's definitely not what I fully expected, but I am happy with the decision I made. And like I know down the line, like I'll look back at it and be like, I'm happy that I went there and it turned out good. So it's a lot of like weird back and forth, you kind of think, because sometimes you're thinking like, oh yeah, like like one semester like I had a ton of hands-on and I was like, oh my God, like I love this, I'm having fun, like every week I'm doing a shoot, every week like I get to edit and I'm doing so much, and then the next semester comes and it's not as much hands-on, so you're kind of like, oh, like I wish I was doing more hands-on, but you kind of have to, it's kind of like a give and take in my situation.
Mm.
Hopefully when I'm done school, I'm doing something, whether I go to like another school, I get like a little bit more of what I wanted in the beginning. But as of right now, like I'm pretty content where I'm at. I just want to like finish it. It's been so long.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so you're all in the same boat pretty much. Okay, so I want to dive in a little bit into, well, a lot bit into residence life.
Yay.
Because that's where we all met. That's where shit went down. So, for me, like I said in a little bit, in general, residence was, for me, very lonely. I had barely any friends. I would eat dinner alone in my room. I would go get dinner alone in my room. Sorry, I would go get dinner alone, then come back and eat it in my room. And then I like barely went out and socialized. I kind of just stayed, again, like a hermit in my little single bedroom. Didn't really do much. Like I would just go to classes, come back, eat, try to study. I wasn't even motivated to study really because I didn't like my program. So, but I tried to like make friends with the girls on our floor, like, but I don't know, they just didn't click for me. I just didn't like them. I found them all to be very like clicky and kind of like followers, and which makes sense because in university you just want to like find your group right away so you don't be alone. But I found it so unappealing to me that I just didn't like the way they were acting, and not that they were acting any bad or any way, I just didn't necessarily find them interesting or worth my friendship to say. And when I think back at it, like, do I kind of regret that? Not really, because honestly, at the end of the year of residence, I was like, oh, I really wish like I spent time more with these girls, because near the end of it, I actually, went to kind of like the group meetings, and I went to the lounge meetings that like we had in little gatherings and stuff like that. So, and I was like, oh man, like maybe I should have like, been more friends with these girls. Like they seem all right. But then when I look back at it now, I'm like, you know what? Like, no, like I'm glad I found my group of people, my own. Like I chose them. I didn't like, be conformed to like a little clique or whatever. Like I'm really happy that I chose my own path. So other than that, like I said, really lonely. And then I met these two lovely humans that I'm talking to. A funny story of how we actually met was T and Hill were going to go out with another one of our university friends. Well, we don't talk to her anymore. But at the time, one of our university mutuals. And she got sick or something, I can't remember. And T was like, why don't we invite Ivana? Like, she's not doing anything. Like, she's a lonely ass fucking human. She wasn't thinking that, but that's how I see it.
Right.
And then, which was true, I wasn't doing anything. I was lonely. And then, all of a sudden, they were like, you know what, we planned on going downtown. Do you want to come? Like, go get boba tea with us. And I was like, hell yeah, I love boba. Let's go get boba. And then that's how it all started. And I remember Hillary was actually very off put by the fact that I was coming. She didn't like that there was like, she was very welcoming, very open, but she was not really, she wasn't really standoffish, but she was like, a little turned away from the fact that I was joining, which was fine because look at us now, she loves me, so it's fine.
So it's fine.
I know, right? Like the amount of stuff we've been through now, it's like we're like completely best friends.
I know. But yeah, and then I remember like that night that we went to downtown. It was so much fun. Like we clicked so well. Like you would have thought we've been friends for like over a year or something because it was just instant connection. And we got boba and Popeyes, and that is still our tradition. I forgot our date, but it's somewhere in January, like our friendship anniversary. But yeah, what was your guys' residence life like? How about we start with T?
All right.
Shut up.
Well, I was terrified to live on res because normally, like most schools, when they have residents, it's like double rooms, right? Like you share a room with someone. So you make friends with that person or not, like depending like if you get along or not, but you have like that person that you're around all the time. Whereas our school had single rooms. So it's like the only way you can actually interact with people is if you go out. But the only place you can go out is in the hallway. And like not everyone came out of their rooms all the time. So you kind of like in the beginning, like open your door, stick your head out, see if anyone's there, and if they're not, like you just retreat back into your room. So it was really weird to like make friends in that sense because you kind of just had to be out when other people were out, but you didn't know. So eventually, like they did have like the like residence normally does first year like events where you go out with your floor and you'll do like games and this and that, right? So that way you kind of bond with the people that you're living with, and you have floor meetings and all that. So I did meet people on my floor through that, right? And that's actually how Hillary and I had met first. We had some floor meeting. We realized our rooms were right across from each other, and we were like, "Hey, what's up?" Right? Like we live 20 minutes away from each other. Like that's kind of cool. And then we just started talking. Um, but and then I'm trying to think. Ivana and I met like
We went in the washroom.
yeah, you were walking out of the shower when I was washing my face, and we were both like, "Hey, we live across from each other. What's up?" And then we became friends.
No, you were actually like, are you Serbian? Like you saw,
Yeah.
you're like, are you Serbian? And I was like, yeah, I am. And you're like, my mom told me there was a Serbian chick speaking Serbian here, and I was like, oh my god.
I am too. We were like, "Holy crap!" And then we became friends.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I mean, like, I feel like even if we weren't Serbians and we didn't have that to connect on initially, we still would have become friends.
Yeah.
But like that was just like a very easy like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But other than that, like res was really weird the first year just because I always felt like around me, like groups were forming. Like it felt very much like you were living in high school. Like
Yeah.
that's the best way I can describe it. It just felt like obviously like you're friends with like these people and blah blah blah, right? But like you start to notice that like everyone starts making these like cliques and like these little groups. And there'll be like 5 of them here, 5 there, 4 there, 7 here, and they do everything together. And it's like even though you might be friends with people in every single one, you're never actually like fully a part of one of them. So it felt really lonely for the first couple months just because I'd be in my room, or I'd be like in the lounge or whatever, and you would hear like the certain groups of people walking by laughing and stuff, and it's like even though you're friends with them, you're not fully in it, which is kind of like weird to say, and it sounds very like high school whatever, right? But like that's kind of how it feels like when you're living in residence in a single room and like your only way of interaction is to actually go out, but like you don't know where people are, right? So it was really weird in that sense. It was kind of lonely like the first few months, especially since like Hillary and I didn't really start getting close maybe till a month and a half in. And then same with us, like we got close around the same time too, right? So it was like that first few couple weeks was just really, really weird. And like you're by yourself, like you're completely by yourself. You know, when you're on res, you live farther away, so you don't really have access to going home like as easily as you would think, right? So it was a really hard couple months in the beginning. But definitely like once we started becoming closer and like friends, and then slowly started becoming friends with some of the girls on our floor, like I felt like I kind of had people around me, especially with you guys, right? So for that, I'm like, I was super grateful for, because now, and especially since our rooms were right across the hall from each other, like if I was ever lonely, I had to go across and just like knock on your door and be like, let
Yeah.
me something, right? But yeah, no, definitely the first couple of months is it's really weird. It's very lonely, but once you get there longer and you actually start finding your people and you know you start making friends, it does get better, and then it starts becoming fun because then you start doing things with those people that like they may not even live on your floor, but like you have people that are in the same like residence building, and you can start hanging out with them, and it does get easier. It does get more fun. Beginning is really weird though.
Hill, your experience?
As you guys know, my experience like going into residence, like I was happy to move into residence. I did not want to live at home. But like you said, it was definitely different because I thought it was going to be like I would have like a roommate, but then we found out it's like, oh, okay, it's a single. And the thing is, I kind of at the same time was like happy that I had a single, mostly because it was like my own space, like I didn't have to, I guess, tiptoe around like my roommate
Yeah.
because like you wouldn't know them at the time, right? And so I remember, but at the same time I was also thinking like, how am I going to make friends, like how am I going to do this? But then I remember like after moving in, it was very lonely because it's like you don't know anyone. And I feel because like we had our like lounge meeting or like floor meeting, and that's like when we started like, oh, okay, like, oh, these are the girls that live on my floor. And I think it was either like after the first or the second one, like that's how I like met UT, because like as we were walking back we realized, oh, like you live across the hall from me. And I remember, yeah, because like at the time we weren't as close, but like at least like we kind of like made a connection by like talking with one another. Because I know in first year, like for the first couple months, I definitely was like basically acquaintances with everyone. Like I didn't like I had the same thing. Like I didn't have a group or like a bunch of people that I thought, oh, okay, like I like this person, but I don't know. Like I thought we were friends, but like I don't know for sure. It's like, oh, like do they actually see me as a friend? But then as like the months and like as the weeks went by, like I started like hanging out with like a specific group of girls, and it's true, like it definitely does get a little bit cliquey, which kind of makes sense because like it depends on like who you hang out with. um but I agree, like now that I think back on it, it's like it wasn't necessarily good to have like a very like cliquey type of thing, because it's like I felt that I was kind of redoing high school all over again.
Yeah.
So what I want to add to that is like what made my transition harder in res life was that I had that clique in high school. Like I had a group of friends that I could always go to. There's like 7 of us, and those are like my girls. Still talk to them, still love them, and everything. And then going from that to having like 0 friends, pretty much. Oh God. And then I was so happy like when I found you guys, because I was like, oh my God, my own little clique. Finally, I can rely on someone.
It's weird too, because like when you're like in high school, right? Like you go to school, you see your friends, or you make friends, and then you go home, right?
Yeah.
But like on residence, you're there all the time, right? So it's not like you can just like make friends and go home. It's like you make friends and then you go through a door and you're in your room.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like
We
weird because you're always around it.
like we basically live with these people, so it's like
Um,
you see them all the time, right? Because I know that, so like even though like my group like that I met in first year like residence, like even though it was kind of like our own little clique, it wasn't like we weren't welcoming to other people. Because like I know for T, like you had like your other group of friends, but then because like you were friends with me, you started like hanging out with me more, and then you started hanging out with the girls that I was hanging out with.
and then I always try to bring like my other friends in too, because I figured like everyone's going through the same shit, right? Like everyone feels sort of that, this is weird. Like I'm kind of by myself. I don't know who I'm actually friends with or like who I connect with, right? So if I had like friends that were outside of like the friends on our floor, and like I knew they weren't doing anything that night, I'd be like, come, we're like watching TV together, like come join us, or like we're gonna go to the mall on the weekend, like you should come with us, just because like everyone was kind of going through the same thing more so than others. So I was trying to like bring people in or try to keep people involved, just because like I know like I would appreciate it if people did that to me too, which the girls on our floor did, right? So I was like, that's something that like I wanted to do. The best thing that came out of residence for me was the fact that like I became friends with people who weren't in my program, like you guys. Like I would have never met you guys had I not done residence, right? Because I don't see people that are in the business program, and I don't see people in the early childhood program either. Like I only see people who are in my program, right? Because I'm with them all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like I would have never become like really best friends with you guys had I not done residence, right? So I always say like residence is the best thing to be making friends, because you're going to meet people who are in completely different programs, and you might have not even become friends with them had it not been for residence, right?
Yeah.
So that was probably like my favorite part of residence, is the fact that like I met and became so close to people. And by people I mean like you guys. 'Cause you were my closest friends from residence, right? Because of residence. So whenever people are like, "Oh, I don't know if I should be going into residence," like da 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 da, I always say like honestly, like if you can do residence, at least do it for the first year. Like if you need to move away or something, just because you meet so many people through there that otherwise you would have not met.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though
like,
it may be lonely, it will be worth it.
Yeah. No, 100%.
I have a tip for that. If any of you that are living in like single rooms, what's a key thing is that you listen to the chatter and the laughs. And the minute you hear it, you walk out of your door and you're like, "Hey guys, what's up?" That's how you do it.
Yeah. It's like for the first like little bit, like no one cares, right? Like people will be talking in the hallway. If you walk out, you're like, "Hey, like I'm blah blah blah." Like I heard you guys talking, and most people are like, "Yeah, what the heck? Like come here. Like what's up? Nice to meet you." Right? Because everyone's in the same boat.
Exactly.
So it seems like it's very stressful, and it seems like it's very, oh, no one wants to talk to me. But in the grand scheme of things, like everyone's in the same boat who moves to residence. Everyone is there because they don't know anyone, and they everyone wants to make friends with people, right? Or like at least everyone wants someone to have while they're there. So residence is, if you're ever scared, just know like everyone's kind of in the same boat. Everyone feels the same way. So like you said, if you hear people in the hallway, just run out and say hi.
Yeah.
You know? Exactly.
Okay, now let's move on to the university stigmas, like drinking, like partying, hookup culture,
Yay!
the fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
The fun stuff. The tea. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll start off first. So from my experience with the whole like stigmas or whatever, hookup culture wise, I wasn't really into hookup culture. I still am not. Tried it once, horrible experience. Probably won't ever go back. Who knows? Never say never, but probably will never go back. But at the time, I was in a relationship. The relationship lasted for like 3 months, like till December. So we started dating in September. Dated to like December, broke up like literally like right before exams, which was really fun. But I was in a relationship, and I was kind of just like, oh, I really want like, I'm in university, I'm like 18, like I want a real relationship, like a serious thing. And so I didn't really want to be in like the hookup culture and stuff like that. I wasn't into that. So, I mean, that was fun in that sense. It was really cool, like meeting guys like university. Like it was like weird. I remember this one guy, which we'll call him, I don't know. I'll call him Kyle.
Oh,
Huh?
Kyle.
His name's not Kyle. But
Wait, was it a guy that started with the T?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we know.
Like there was this guy named Kyle, and we met because he was like joining us for like dinner or whatever that one night, and I randomly like came downstairs with the whole like group on our floor, and I was like, okay, like I'll come this one time, and he was there miraculously. And I remember he like walked us up to our floor because we were on an all girls floor on the 5th floor of our residence building, and I actually like invited him inside because I found it like he was so chill and everything. At the time, I was still in a relationship, which is like seems really weird, but I did not think anything of it because I was just like, this guy is like purely like a friend, like
Yeah.
So I invited him over. He was actually really chill. We actually got along really well. Like, remember he literally like we had a drawing competition. Like he laid on my bed and we were just like sitting there chatting, and he's like, you draw this and like I'll draw your friend, and I was like, okay. And then like we just started laughing. He was there for like 2 hours or something, and I definitely remember like whispers being outside my door being like, oh, Kyle came into Ivana's room, like he's in there, blah blah. And I was like, my god, I'm gonna get questions about this, like definitely, like either later this evening or like the next morning. And I think I did. I think they asked like, why was he in your room or whatever, and I was like,
that's the one kind of was like annoying about Res is like if you ever brought anyone into your room, even if like it was a friend, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone always thinks right away, they're like, ooh, and then people start like talking and shit, and then like everyone sees everything, and then like the doors weren't soundproof, so even if you're having a conversation with someone, like you can hear it.
I don't know how people had sex in residence. Like, how do you not hear that? Like, I don't
hear it.
I never heard it. Well, I never did it. I never did it in residence. Because by the time I lost my virginity, we were already on a strike. So I was like, what's the point? So thank God I never had to do it in a little twin bed. But like it was, I could just imagine like hearing your neighbors, like you could hear like their music playing and stuff like that. So I can't imagine like hearing the bed creaking and like moaning.
You hear it.
You hear it.
You hear it.
Oh, thank God I did not hear that.
Like, especially if you walk in front of their door,
Uh,
it is not soundproof.
there's a common misconception about these type of guys. Like you honestly think like the hookup culture is like every guy wants to be in your pants, but in like reality, like some of them are like very sweet. I know we all have a couple like experiences with the guys on different floors and stuff like that. So, you know, that's what I think is a common misconception. Like, no, not every guy wants to fuck you. They genuinely just want your friendship. I mean, maybe underlying under it, they do want to fuck you, but you know, the friendship counts. What else? Drinking. I wasn't really into drinking. I'm still not into heavy drink. I mean, I can drink, but like, I'm not really like that much into alcohol. Like I was 18, I couldn't really buy anything. I was still drinking though. Kids don't do that. It's illegal. Party wise, I really went to no parties. Like I was not invited to any. I didn't go to any. Didn't know people that were hosting it at all either. I think actually the first party I went to was T's Halloween party, like second year. That was the first one ever. So before then, I never went to any house parties or anything like that. So that I don't know about that experience in like residence and in first year of university. But hookup culture wise, it's there, but not every guy is like that. What about your guys' experience? Hill, what is your experience with hookup, partying, and drinking?
So I definitely think there is a stigma about how when you go off to residence, because like your parents aren't there, right? There's no adults. Obviously there are adults, but you know, they don't, yeah. But I agree. There's definitely like a stigma on like hookup culture, like, oh, like there's so many people that like hook up and like they sleep around and like some of them do end up turning into relationships. But honestly, I was never really a part of that. At the same time, like going into university, I wasn't really thinking of like trying to find a relationship or like meet anyone. Like I was just kind of more focused on like making friends because like I didn't know anyone, right? So like I wasn't really thinking of anything like that. I do remember this one time. It was like in the cafeteria at residence. Like I remember I was waiting in line and this guy in front of me was waiting in line. And he like started talking to me and like we just like started talking. He was like, cause like he would ask me like, oh, like what's cause like so he's Asian and like I'm Asian. So like he was asking me, it's like, oh, like what ethnicity are you? And then we like just started talking and then like he asked for my Snapchat and I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Like I honestly I wasn't thinking anything of it. And then he was like, oh, like do you want to like grab dinner like sometime? And I was like, sure. But the thing is I was so oblivious to any of this. So I was just thinking, oh, like okay, like as a friend, right? And then then I had dinner with him and then like he showed me like afterwards like we like were talking during dinner and then like and he brought me back to his room like he wanted to show it to me and I was like yeah sure like cool and then like I showed him my room. Now that I'm older I realized that oh my gosh he was flirting with me and like but the thing is, like, a lot of people were like, oh, like, he asked you out, like, on a date. But the thing is, like, we ate in the freaking cafeteria hall in residence. So.
Excuse you, that's romantic for residents. Okay, if you sit with the boy in the cafeteria, y'all are, like, hooking up or something. And then I love how, like, the, like, automatic thing, like, the guys think is, like, oh, I got into her room, like, I'm gonna score. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. Like, because when I like would look back on like our Snapchat like messages to each other, I was like, oh my gosh, like he was actually flirting with me, and I was just oblivious to the entire time. And then I accidentally ghosted him.
That's how you do it, baby.
Yeah, so like my hookup story isn't it's not even a hookup. It's just like, but I'm just basically saying that I didn't have a lot of experience of like the hookup culture. And so for drinking, so like I was 19 at the time, so was T. So like we were legal, we could drink, we could buy booze. There was definitely a lot of like drinking that happened in the first month, or like for me at least it was like the first like 2 weeks, because I didn't know anyone. And the thing is, like, I met other people like on different buildings and other floors because they were having floor parties, like room parties, and like we were just like chilling, hanging out, and like getting to know each other. But the thing is, so I got a lot of like that done in the first 2 weeks because I just wanted to meet people and just get to know people and like get to know one another. But the thing is, I'm such a lightweight. Like I can easily get tipsy like after like a cooler, like one cooler and a half. Like that's how easy it is, and like you both know that too. So for me, like after the first 2 weeks, like partying and like drinking, honestly, I had to stop because like I knew I couldn't like do that every single time. And I know like some of the friends that I had on our floor, they were really into that. Like they could do that every single night, they could do that every single weekend, and I was like, I can't. Like I physically am not able to do that. And I know that you don't necessarily need to drink to have fun. And but the thing is, I realized I was like, I don't necessarily want to do that all the time. And the thing is, a lot of the times, like, it's like, oh, are you doing anything? Like, let's go to this party or like this house party. And the thing is, it wasn't like, that's not what I wanted. Because the thing is, like, after you would like meet people in like other floors and like for their parties, they would invite you to house parties because they knew people. And the thing is, for me, honestly, the house parties were not fun. But I definitely do think the stigma is there that drinking, drugs, hooking up, like it definitely happens. I just know, like, for me, it honestly wasn't, because for me, it wasn't really prevalent in first year, mostly because like I knew what my limits were and I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want to like surround myself with. So
I think it's also important to mention that if you find the right group of people that like have similar morals and values and interests as you, that's also very important, because if you're friends with a group that constantly drinks and parties and smokes and you're not like that, then you're kind of automatically peer pressuring yourself into becoming that. So
yeah,
I think also that's really important to mention, that if you don't feel comfortable doing that and your group's like that, either find a new group or just be the outcast and just don't do it, no matter how much they peer pressure you.
it's like at the same time, it's okay to say no. And that's the thing. A lot of the people that we hung out with, they were totally fine. Like they never like peer pressured of like, oh, like do you want to smoke a cigarette? Like they would ask, but then as soon as you said no, like I'd be like, they would just back off completely because they're like, oh, okay, like she's not into that.
Your turn, T.
My experience with all of that, there definitely is a stigma with drinking, doing drugs, hookup culture in college and university, just because, for a lot of people, it's the first time they're away from home. You kind of have that freedom where you're the only one looking out for yourself, so you can do whatever it is that you want to do, right? So personally, like, I wasn't really part of the hookup culture. I was more interested in making friends, doing a bunch of things, like, going out, going to different events, doing house parties and stuff like that, just because I wanted to meet people. I wanted to make friends, especially since where I'm from, like, I went away to school. So I wanted to make new people in like a new area. So that's kind of what my focus was on.
Same.
I wasn't into like the drug like area either, just because my own personal preference, like I wasn't really one that wanted to get involved in it. But yeah, like I honestly, like, same thing like Hill said, like we were both 19, we went to house parties. Even if you're not of age to drink, you can still go to house parties to have fun and meet people. Like you don't have to drink just because you're going to them. Like that's not like a requirement to get in or whatever.
No.
We'd go, we drank, like, and it was fun because it was cool because you would meet people at like the parties. You end up talking to random people, and a lot of people at the time that went to these parties were all in residence, right? So you meet a couple people, and then the next day you would see them like going to get breakfast, and you'd be like, oh, like we met last night, like what's up, like how are you feeling, da, 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 da. And then you end up being friends with them, or you end up like knowing people from different floors or whatever because of that. And so then if you see them at another party or if you see them out, you kind of meet their friends. Like, it was really cool that way. But yeah, definitely, like, I know for like the first little bit, I was friends with like these girls. They were super nice, super fun, used to hang out and stuff, but they used to go party like every night, especially the first 2 weeks before school started. And I liked going with them because, you know, they were all super nice, had no problems with them, and I liked hanging out with them. I just couldn't keep up.
I know, same.
Like, I couldn't keep up, and like I like a good party and I like drinking. Like, it's, you know, like, it's fun, but oh, I couldn't do it that much. Like, I could not keep up with them. So whenever they hung out, like, the thing they would do to hang out together was to get like to drink a crap ton and then go to parties, right? I honestly couldn't go out every single night. Like, I physically could not do that.
Same.
So I kind of stopped hanging out with them just because majority of whenever they would be together, they would be drinking, and like I just wasn't into like doing it all the time. But yeah, they weren't anything like, it wasn't anything like peer pressure, like, oh,
No.
it's like da 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 da. Like, if I was like, hey guys, like, I'm not really feeling up to it, like, they'd be like, okay, whatever, come with us anyways, you know? So it was chill. Like, it honestly wasn't that bad, but there definitely is that stigma of like that's what college is like. And honestly, like, yeah, a lot of it is that. You know, like, what are you gonna do other than when you're studying and stuff, right? Or you're going to classes. Like, that's just what it is. You have a bunch of people who are around the same age who are just trying to have fun, right? Obviously responsibly, but having fun. So yeah, I partook like in the more so in the drinking and the partying, but not that much. Like, I couldn't keep. I'm not one of those people, like, I can't keep up. I honestly couldn't
It's
keep up.
exhausting.
It is. It's freaking tiring.
It
but
is.
no,
is.
definitely for like the first, 2 weeks when you move into residence, you got no classes going on. You're just trying to meet friends and go out and stuff, right? So it's fun. It definitely was fun, but when people are like, oh, like, college and university is filled with that. It's like, you know what? Yeah, to some extent it is. Like, it is what it is, right? Like, you kind of just want to make the best of whatever you're doing. And whatever people decide to do and, like, whatever their choices are, like, you do you. Like, at the end of the day, it's your own experience. Just make sure you're safe and you're,
Exactly.
around people that, like, you actually feel comfortable with and shit. But, yeah.
And in case shit goes down, make sure you have people that can hold your hair back while you're throwing up.
True.
Okay, lastly, I want to end this off with advice. Any advice that you guys have for new university students? Oh, God. I don't know where I should start. Oh, God. Make friends. Again, we kind of reiterate that throughout this whole podcast, but I think it's really important that you do take that step and pursue your somewhat outgoing nature if you have one, like force it out. Because you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who can be your long life best friend. Hello. Also, I think, like, yeah, try not to get into the peer pressure of things, the drinking, stuff like that. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, like, I'm in university, like, I'm 18, it's time for me to, like, lose my virginity or something. Like, I know that was my train of thought. And looking back at it, I'm like, it's kind of unhealthy. So, I mean, definitely don't feel peer pressure to do that. Just be yourself, meet people. Definitely don't worry too much about your grades because first year is very challenging. You get a whole new set of load. Like, you go from like 5 45-minute classes to 3-hour lectures. Like, that's how it is at our university. And by the end of it, you're just dead. You're just tired. Like, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to review it. You don't want to touch it. You don't want to look at it. So don't be too hard on yourself. Everyone's grades drop first year or first semester, whatever. Try your best. There is a lot of help resources. I know that our school has a lot of mental health resources and, tutoring and stuff like that. Definitely take advantage of that. Try to join some groups. I know I did dance first year, which was really fun. It was a nice thing to get out and do every, like, Tuesday night or whatever to get out of residence. Like, that was really fun. Yeah, I think just try not to take it too seriously. It will be challenging. Like, I personally didn't know that it was very lonely for you guys as well in residence because it seemed like it wasn't. Like, you guys gave off that vibe that, like, oh, we're perfectly fine in residence. Like, meanwhile, I was in my room, like, sobbing because I was just, like, so sad all the time because I had no one. But in reality, everyone's in the same boat. Everyone feels the same way. You're not alone in any of this. So I think that would be my advice. If I think of anything else, I'll shoot it out. But whoever wants to go first, I guess, Hill T, shoot your shot.
Phil, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I think I know like one of the scariest things is like for when you're in first year is making friends. And we've definitely reiterated it throughout this whole podcast. But definitely if you are outgoing, just shoot your shot basically. And even if you're not, like I know for me, because like you said, it definitely seemed like me and T, we had it all together and that like we had all these friends. But the thing is, even though for me, like even though I may seem like outgoing, the thing is like on the inside I'm actually like very much an introvert, and it's hard for me to like I can easily talk to strangers like no problem, but the thing is on the inside like I'm actually like nervous, like I'm really nervous because like I'm worried about like how they think of me. I'm like, am I coming off too strong? Like am I just seem like or am I like putting them off? Like I don't know. And I definitely think the reason like how I could become friends with you two is because like I made the first step. Like you know what I mean? Like I said hello, like I said my name, like my program, like where I lived, and just like getting to know people. And I think that's definitely a piece of advice I could give like to people that are like going into universities, that definitely put yourself out there. And even if it like backfires, it's like at least you know that, oh, okay, like these are the type of people that I don't really want to hang out with, or these are the people that aren't really necessary in my life, if that makes sense. And also like yeah, like the peer pressure of like having to drink or having to hook up, lose your virginity, or partaking in drugs. The thing is, you can't say no. The thing is, you don't have to. It like, and if other people that you meet think that for you to be cool and for you to hang out with them is to do that, then that obviously means that they are not the type of people that you should be hanging out with. And and so the people that you meet in first year, sometimes they're not the friends that you'll keep for second, third, and fourth year. So, and I know the three of us know that. So I think just helping those like that have that mentality, it's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be friends forever.
Sometimes that is a lie.
Okay, that's a little strong. But no, like I'm just saying that it's okay if you don't stay like with these friends, and it's totally fine. It just means that like that they're not really meant to be in your life, and like that's okay. Like it doesn't mean that they're bad people or anything. It's just that, especially in university, it's definitely a growth period. So you start learning more about yourself. You start learning the type of people that you want to hang out with, the type of people that you want to surround yourself with, and like you start learning about, oh, like this is the type of friend that I want, this is the type of people that I would like to be with. So like that's my advice. I guess I would say. So
I agree. Like if you thought high school was a growing experience, wait till you get to university. Like that's when you really like get to like talk about adulthood right there. Like that's like a whole other period.
That's the thing. Like you literally you're becoming a young adult. And the thing is, like, I know for me, like, even though I'm 22 and like I'm in my fourth year, there's a lot of things that I still don't know yet when it comes to being an adult. And because I know like over the years, like we've talked about like a lot of the problems that we faced throughout like the school life, through residence life, and like through our friends. And it's like it's a lot of it, even though it sucked that a lot of the things that have like happened, they're definitely like growing periods. Like it lets you grow like as a person.
If I were to give any advice, honestly, my advice would be whatever you're afraid of and what's like what you're going through, everything's going to work out in the end. You know, if you know what you want to do and you're going off to school, or you don't know what you want to do and you're going off to school, you'll figure it out along the way. You know, I personally stressed a lot in the beginning because I was very nervous because I knew what I wanted to do, wasn't sure if it was going to work out. And if I could like tell anything to like myself back then, it would be any like concerns with making friends, enjoying your program. If things are going to work out, things will work out the way they're supposed to. Just go with it and let it happen. And, you'll find your way down the line. And if you don't like it, you make a change. And if you do like it, then that's awesome for you. You keep going with it, right? In terms of friends, put yourself out there. If you're more shy, that's okay too. Maybe your group is one person, maybe your group is 5. Just make sure you're around people that, make you a better individual and you feel safe with and you feel like a connection with, because like Hill said, like you might end up being friends with them long term, you might not be, but in that moment, you want to make sure you're with people that get you and you get them, right? In terms of school, things are more difficult. It's definitely busier. It's more that you have to juggle. Keep yourself time orientated, do your best to keep on track. Find something that works for you that keeps you, doing what you like and keeps you on track of what you're doing. And like it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be difficult for the first little bit. It's definitely something that you have to go through that helps you grow as a person. But once you go through all of that and you get, you go through the scariness of getting into a new school and meeting new people and finding your way, honestly, it works out in the end. And it even works out for you if it doesn't work out, because then that just means that you're supposed to do something else, whether it's a different school, different group of people, different program. Everything works out in the end. You just got to follow it. Make sure you're staying true to who you are. Make sure you're doing what you want to do. And even if you don't know, you'll find it. It's definitely a big awakening when you first start, because it's a huge part of your life. It's a new chapter of what you're doing, right? But just have trust in yourself, trust in the people that you're around, trust in your habits, your morals, your values. Just keep track of everything, and things will turn out the way they're supposed to. And even if it doesn't seem like it, just trust the process, make your decisions wisely, and even if you mess up down the line, that is totally okay too. Everything will work out the way it's supposed to. You just gotta believe in yourself, make sure you're doing good for yourself.
One last thing I would like to add to that. My advice is don't let your family members dictate what you want to do. Because, again, I was given the option of doing business because I didn't know what I wanted to do. But then the minute I tried to switch my mind and be like, I really don't want to do this, because I actually remember I didn't really like the idea of business. I actually wanted to take a gap year, like you guys. And I was telling my brother and my mom, I was like, I want to do like a gap year. Like, I don't really want to go to, like, I don't want to go to like Trent. I don't really, like, I love our school right now, but I don't really want to like do business. Like, and I didn't really know that I wanted to do media at all at the time. And so they were like, no, like, don't do that. Like, you're going to waste your time, blah, blah. And then I ended up listening to them for business. And I kind of regret it because it did bring my GPA really low because how bad my grades were. And that GPA still follows me throughout my whole university career, which sucks, which means I have to work double the amount that I should technically be working. So that kind of sucks. So really try to not let your family members dictate what you want to do or discourage you from what you want to do. I remember when I changed my mind and I said, I want to take a year off and I want to do media. They were like, what? No. I remember my brother was like, no, don't do that. Like, do massage therapy. There you go. You'll make good money with that. And I was like, and I honestly kind of considered it because I was like, could I do media? Like, it is such a really hard job to find and get into. Like, am I meant for it? Like, am I destined to do it? Like, can I actually do it? And funny enough, like, it's so cheesy, but like my boyfriend was the one that motivated me to do it. He's like, no, baby, like, listen to yourself. Like, you can do this. Like, I believe in you. You got this. Like, don't listen to your brother. And I was like, you know what? I do got this. And here I am, thriving on my 70 GPA. Happy with my program, loving every second of it. I would not have it any other way. So
the big thing is like you're doing this for you, right? Like, everyone, high school, like, it's, everyone's there, blah, 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 whatever. But like, you're choosing what you want to do. You're choosing what you want to study because you're doing it for you, right? And I know a lot of people are in a situation, because I was in the same situation where I had a lot of family that are trying to dictate what best for me, when at the end of the day, like, you know what's best for you. And I know for a lot of people it's more challenging to go with what they want to do when they have family on their back saying you can't do it, or you're not allowed to do it, or like you can't. But the best thing to do for yourself to be happy long term is to do it for you. Like, have the confidence that you can do it, know that you can do it, and ultimately, like, make the decision upon yourself to do what it is that makes you happy, right? Because you're not going to school for anyone else, or you're not, getting experience for anyone else. You're not trying to go get skill sets for anyone else. You're getting it for you because you're setting yourself up for the rest of your life. So
Yeah.
you can't let anyone else dictate what is best for you, because only you know what's best for you. And you honestly, truly start being happy within yourself in that sector of your life when you take it upon yourself to say, like, you know what, like, this is what I want to do. Everyone around me might not be happy with it, but I know down the line, like, I'm going to be happy. And that's like the most important thing that I had to learn going through, when a lot of my family wasn't happy with what I was doing. But I could personally, like, I could not be happy doing a business course. Like, maybe jobs are good coming out of it, but I know I wouldn't be happy the rest of my life doing business. Whereas I'm super happy and I have so much love for what it is that I'm doing. So that's honestly probably like the biggest thing to take out of it, is just make sure you're doing what you need to do for yourself to make yourself happy, because that's going to be your life when you're, when you're out of it. That's what you're setting yourself up for.
Yeah, and you don't want to spend time and effort and money on something that you hate doing. Like, I regret spending $6,000 on my business year because, well, paying the $6,000 student loan, it was actually like 15 grand with residence included, which is crazy. So unfortunately, like, it kind of went to waste, but because I wasn't retaining anything I was learning, I was just doing it so I can pass the course. Yeah. I didn't enjoy what I was doing. So and also I say, on the top of the family, trying to, like, pinpoint your life, don't let, like, money and, like, the future of your career. Like, I have a family member that went into science and she doesn't like what she's doing now. And she only did it purely because she wanted a good career and good money. And now she's struggling and she doesn't like what she's doing. And she's like, I actually want to switch my major. And then she's like, I regret actually going into this. And I'm like, that is the whole point. Like, pick something that you want, that you enjoy, that you're passionate about, that you love doing, that you love spending your time on. Like, forget about the good money and the good job position. Like, yeah, that's going to be really nice, for your future. But in reality, you're going to be miserable every day when you go to work. And I don't want that.
The other thing, too, is I knew someone who thought she knew what she was doing when she got out of high school, went to school, everything, like, for whatever it was. And when she was 32, she decided that what she wasn't doing wasn't making her happy anymore. And she changed over to media, because I met her at my co-op way back in, like, grade 11 or whatever, right? And, like, that's the other big thing, too, is, like, even if, say, right now, what you want to do is what you want to do, and then 10 years down the line or however many years down the line, you're like, I'm not happy anymore. That's okay, too, because you make decisions to make you happy, right? She was not happy doing what she wanted to do. When she turned 32, she realized, I really want to go into media. Like, I really want to go into television and stuff like that. And, I was talking to her about it, and I said, how was that for you? Because, like, that's such a scary thing to realize when you're, like, in your 30s. And she's like, honestly, I'm kind of happy it happened the way it happened, because it made her realize that that's not what she wants to do for the rest of her life. And she's like, if I had done it any later, I probably would have not figured it out. So another thing, too, is, like, even if right now you don't know what you want to do, or you pick something and then a few years you don't like it, that's okay too. You have the freedom to make the decision to change it, to make yourself happy and to do what you love. So even certain setbacks like that, like, in my opinion, it's like, yeah, it's kind of crappy that you wasted, so many years doing something, but I think it's kind of good in the end, because you realize, like, even though I spent 5 years doing something, I'm not happy in it anymore. Now I'm going to choose something that makes me happy, that I want to do. So I still think, like, in certain cases, like, that's good too, as long as, you realize that, like, you want to do things that fulfills who you are, right? So.
No, I definitely agree with that, because, like, I know for me, so, like, I'm in 4th year now, and I don't necessarily want to do the career that my diploma and degree are going to give me. And yeah, like definitely that it's okay that you don't like what you're doing anymore. Cause like I know for me, I was definitely scared about it and like telling my parents it's like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore. Because one of the root causes was because my parents are supplying the like all my school funds. So and I felt bad because it's like I felt like, oh my gosh, like I'm wasting 4 years. And like what am I supposed to do? And but the thing is, because I talked with them, and the thing is they said that, because at first I was really afraid that they were going to get mad at me. But I feel like any child, like if their parents are supporting you through like your school career, that it's going to be scary, like trying to tell them that I don't like what I'm doing anymore. And the thing is, like, I still like working with kids and like there's nothing wrong with that, but I know that down the line that that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so once I like talked with them, they said that no, like it's okay, because this is still giving you like a ton of skills that you could use later on. And
Yeah.
the thing is, like, you could like I could still work with kids, but like in a different type of way. And I think I just to give advice to like those who think that it's so like that they're afraid of like switching, like you might find out in first year, like for Ivana, like that's how you found out in first year. For me, I found out like in second year, but then I was basically kind of telling myself that no, it's okay, and forcing myself in third year that no, this is what I want to do. But then I realized that it wasn't, because like it was just stressing me out even more. And then I finally realized that, oh my gosh, like I don't necessarily hate the program that I'm in, but I know that career wise that's not what I want to do. So like it's totally okay, for those that are listening, that it's okay to, if you want to change your program, it's okay if you're feeling that you're not necessarily fit for the program, because like Tiana said, that everything happens for a reason and it's all going to work out in the end. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. A very long conversation, but
No.
nonetheless, thank you. I hope people who are listening enjoyed it and take some advice from it or like what they're hearing. Thank you so much, my friends, for coming, and thank you for tuning in to VASIVA. I will see you in the next episode. Bye.